Greetings and welcome to Your Essential Practice. I'm Eric Paulson, and first off, we need to get the proper PPE, personal protection equipment, some glasses, gloves, and breathing protection, as well as something to keep the hair off of the shoulders, and some noise cancellation or just some tunes to listen to. Just make sure that the cord is out of the way. And then the Dremel tool attachment there I have, and we have also some diamond bits to work with the hard material. Now, amethyst is a material that is a 7 on what's called Mohs hardness scale, MOH''S. And Mohs hardness scale is how we determine the hardness of an object. So first you see I'm inspecting that blank, and I've already chosen where I was going to put the rune. So we want to inspect that blank and make sure that the lines are going to fit along with any fractures, any sort of other imperfections, divots, and whatnot in the rock, or in the stone material. So a lot of people, you'll hear them recommend that you do not want to use a magic marker when marking your rocks. However, if you're going to be just going in to remove that material, then I'd say go ahead and mark it with something that won't come off so easily with some water. So that's another thing we'll be needing here is a little bit of water and a little rag in the water to help keep the stone cool and lubricated throughout the carving process. So you can see me getting a little more situated as I'm trying to do this for the first time for a camera. And we want to go in nice straight passes, nice even passes as much as possible. And the reason why we're using the water is so the stone or the bit used in the Dremel don't get worn down too quickly or get too hot in the process. Also, it helps with removing excess debris from the path that I'm cutting with. So you'll see me dip the tip of the Dremel, the diamond bit tip I'm using is a round bit, and also the amethyst rune Eihwaz into the water. So, a little bit about the stone Eihwaz. That's the stone of endurance. And Eihwaz is the EI rune. So it's the sound that the EI makes. So Eihwaz or Eihwaz or Eihwaz, right, is the omnipresent center axis of the cosmos. The Ophalos of the world, if you will, like a naval center of the world. So this is like the axis of the world and is the second in the core dyad of the rune row. This is the vertical axis of the world tree, Yggdrasil, the channel along which the cosmic squirrel, Retta. Now, excuse me if I mispronounce this. I'm just not every day we get to say these fun, interesting names. The squirrel, Ratatoskar, is like an electric arc, spreads that discord between the eagle at the summit of the world tree, the Yggdrasil, the tree of life. So the eagle at the summit of the tree, and the great serpent, Nidhogger, at its roots. So between the serpent at the tree, serpent at the roots and the eagle at the tree, this is like the squirrel spreading the messages to and from, up and down, that axis on the world tree Yggdrasil, the tree of life. The EI rune synthesizes extreme opposites, life and death, day and night, summer and winter, in a dynamic way. We can also see that the TH and the D runes, and note where their location is within the Elder Futhark alphabet, and their numerical correspondences in 3, 13, and 23. This rune penetrates through all three realms, the heavens, Middle Earth, and the underworld, otherwise known as Asgard, Midgard, or Hell. It is the path of transformation of essences in any of these realms into essences of any others, so material objects can be made spiritual by this mystery. A little poem about the U this rune. It's representing the U branch, the U tree, the tree of life, Yggdrasil, Y-E-W, right? So this is an Ida about U, Y-E-W. U is on the outside, a rough tree, and hard, firm in the earth, keeper of the fire, supported by roots, a joy to have on the estate. When we get this rune in a rune reading, depending on its position, it's calling us to embody how we are like that yew tree, that tree of life, how we are the access, we are the Midgard between Asgard and Hell, right? So we're the endurance, we're the flexible, needing to endure and weather these upcoming changes throughout our lives. So this is a very beautiful rune to cast into the Amethyst, and while I do carve these runes, first I'll cleanse the energetic space by smudging with something like cedar or palo santo or sage. Then I'll recite, or not even really recite, but invoke a prayer of blessing for the tasks at hand. So when I'm sitting down, depending on what it is I'm doing at my workbench, I will pray to Source, to call on my ancestors, right, for guidance, my archangels, ascended masters. Then I'll bless my energetic spaces with Reiki symbols, mostly Chukure, which is the first Reiki symbol. And so what that does is it calls in a lot of that energy, the power, the balance thereof, and really blesses the energetic space for making a very energetically charged object here. So while I'm doing this, I'll be carving and concentrating, blessing the rune through my mind's eye, the Chukure symbol. And that's that Reiki symbol number 1, if you ever want to look that up. It looks like a number 7 inside of a spiral or outside of a spiral. And that's just a very layman's way of describing it. So, however, the runes all get blessed in the energetic space every time that I'm in between, say, letting the paint dry and putting on acrylic, or between letting the water dry and buffing. I will come back. Every time I come back, it's another invocation, another gratitude of the blessing of the energetic space for everything. So everything that I make out of the shop here is blessed with Reiki energy, blessed with divine guidance. I call on my ascended masters, Reiki lineage, ancestors, divine source, that the work is blessed and that it reaches who it needs to, when it needs to, and how it needs to, in divine timing and divine course of action. So this is a beautiful practice, and I wanted to share this with you just to kind of show you what goes into carving a rune, let alone one that is as hard as an amethyst. A lot of them that you see on the channel through the rune readings are either unikite or wood. With wood, I just do wood burning with. But with the other blue stone is lapis lazuli, which is a lot softer in comparison to, say, amethyst or yellow jade or carnelian, or like an agate. So they're very hard materials to work with, like granite, and every one of these is handcrafted. Every single one of these is met with a tolerance that you can put your fingernail in there into the rune and go in good depth. So I do measure them out, not every one specifically, but you can basically put a penny into each one of the runes and it'll go up to just before Lincoln's head. So it's a good depth in there. What that means for you is if you were to have any of these runes, that these can be passed along for up to the next 7 generations. Every single one of these runes are protected and guaranteed against any sort of breakage. Now, lost runes I won't replace, but if you can communicate with me through email that the rune has been broken, not by some hammer, like say your ex was mad at you and took a hammer to your rune and smashed it, sorry, won't be replacing it then. But if it is something where it's a chip or something like a break, that it's very easy to tell if it happens, say, in the pouch or in the bag or during shipping or in your pocket with your other rocks. That's really easy to determine. So everything is lifetime guaranteed as far as that goes. So and they're heirloom quality. So you can contact me at any time. I'll make a shipping label for you to send back your defective item, and upon receiving it, I'll ship out your new item free of charge. And that's just the kind of guarantee I put on the craftsmanship here. That's why the prices are set to what they are on the website, on the store right now at youressentialpractice.com. And why the rune sets command more of the respectable price range, because these are meant to be handed down through generations or last for that long. So you could resell them if you wanted, God forbid, or use them for your own collection and divination practices. I do custom sets. I'm going to be working with either amber or elk antler here next. I also have some carnelian, some more yellow jade, some other stones nearby. So if you would like me to get into a specific type of stone here coming up in the future, I would like to put more of these out there, depending on how these all pan out as far as the viewership and the algorithm goes here on YouTube. I would like to do more of these creation videos here for you and bring you along the journey on what I do for a lot of these, because it's not just the runes that I make here as well. I do make some handcrafted wizard staffs. I'm yet to finish them and put them online, but I'd like to take you on that journey eventually as well. I cut into some very large rocks that I'll be getting into, like a big milky quartz that I found here nearby. I live in an area that has a lot of naturally occurring granite, and quartz is a very big component of granite. So there's a lot of that milky quartz in the area here on near the Wisconsin River, and I found some just wonderful, beautiful specimens that I would love to cut into here, take them outside, and get the a wet saw to them and take you along on that journey here with me. So let me know in the comments below what type of material you'd like to see me get down and dirty with here next. Also, I make some tensor rings that will take you along on that creation journey as well. Okay, so as you can see here, I've been dipping the stone more and more into the water, just constantly wearing down that path a little bit more with each pass. I'm working a lot with each bend, each corner. There's a change, and a slight change, very microscopic change in the elevation that you could just feel through the tip of the tool. And we don't want to use too much pressure, or we can get the tool to skip. Also, if we are going a little bit too light on the pressure on what we're trying to accomplish with the carving, it could also skip. And what I mean by skip is the rotating bit would catch the edge of the channel of what we're trying to carve and jump out of that channel and possibly deface or mark up the rune elsewhere, which is what we're trying to mitigate any possibilities of that happening. It just leads to less work further down the line with the buffing and fixing any mistakes we might have made. Every pass we're going a little bit deeper. You can see me going back and forth over and over and over, always making sure that I have some spot of lubrication there. You can see where it gets a really milky buildup. That's a lot of that sediment mixing in with the water in the rune. The water just kind of sprays everywhere. It just kind of doesn't know. There's really no way to get a handle on that. So it'll get a little bit on the camera lens or on the light or on your shirt. So if this is something that you're looking at doing at home, just make sure you're not wearing a super nice shirt or maybe a smock or an apron of some sort as well. Of course, you see that I have the gloves on there for protection. I do have the breathing mask on, so that's another reason why we're using the water as well, so that reduces the amount of dust in the environment, because this environment should be extremely well ventilated and air purified as well, because you can get what's known as like an acute toxicity to silicone or to the silica in the dust particles that you're breathing in. So like when that dust from the carving the runes gets in your lungs, it doesn't go anywhere. And that's a toxicity kind of exposure event. So that's why the breathing is the protection is nice, the water is nice, the purifying the atmosphere is nice. Really want to protect your lungs. True, you might not get anything if you're just doing this as kind of like a hobby for maybe a month or so. You might not, but I'm not a medical professional as far as that goes, so don't take my word for it. You definitely want to be better safe than sorry, and protect your breathing, protect your eyes too. Definitely with the Dremel too, there's a certain amount of noise frequency kind of going on, where some hearing protection may be recommended if you're more sensitive to hearing or maybe are at risk of hearing damage as far as that goes. If you want all the nerd stats, I'll include those in more future videos. I just kind of want to see how this video does here first, to see about the stats for nerds, Dremel tool kind of stats, rotation stuff, what type of bits, all that kind of stuff. We'll put in more future videos, but for now, just wanted to really take you along and show you this journey on making this these beautiful handcrafted runes that I make here. All right, that looks pretty good for where we want to pause and dry off our area and dry the rune off. And you want to let this air dry. You can use a little bit of heat, but a lot of times the mistake is made with people getting their stones too hot and they'll destroy the stones. That will change the chemical makeup of your stones, depending on what they are. So, like it could turn your amethyst into more of a citrine if you got it too hot. So here we're getting set up to make, to do the buffing. I have the buffing compound out, and I'll be changing out the bit with a felt wheel. And so the compound is really interesting stuff. It takes a lot for it to work, or excuse me, a little bit goes a long way, but a lot of work for it to actually work. So this is a very time-consuming process. And you'll see me fiddle a little bit with getting the compound a little bit more moist to be better applicated. You'll see me at some point even putting my just putting a finger onto the compound and rubbing the compound onto the rune itself with the finger, just to help work it into the stone and really get a good polish going there. These felt tips are cheap enough where you can go through maybe one or two runes on one of these, and depending on how much work you make for yourself. And it really, you want to be careful because of that tip, the very tip of it, that's still that screw point that's going through the middle of that felt tip. So you see I get very close, but I'm always making sure that that tip of the drill bit on the Dremel isn't really scratching more of the surface of the rock, making more work. Okay, and that's a good spot now for the compound to kind of go away, and we can clean up the compound next with a dry felt disc. So next I'll be changing that out and going over the rune, kind of just buffing off the rest, any residual of that green polish compound that might be left on the rune. And so this will just be the dry felt. You can see there too, the tip goes through the dry felt. There is a different way of fastening that type of disc onto the Dremel, but this works just fine for its purpose. But there is a different way you can attach it if you wanted to cover up that pointy tip there. But you can see now that we're getting a little bit more of the finer polish work done here on the rune. Okay, now we'll just wipe off any excess coming up and inspect the rune a little bit more. So this is just a damp rag. This isn't a very wet rag. This is just going in and really getting into the nooks and crannies of the rune and getting any more of that polish compound that could be left on the rune in the place where we're going to be painting it. So here we'll wipe that out really good in just down in the valley there where we're going to be painting, and dry it off really good and let it air dry. We want to let these go for as long as we can in between their drying periods and when we're going to be polishing and painting, things like that. If you ever have the doubt of, oh gee, should I let it go a little bit longer? Yes, you should probably let it go a little bit longer and let it dry a little longer. All right, there's nothing wrong with that. You're just going to help your product more with the paint applying better and adhering to it better, and just overall just energetically not being rushed and being blessed and all this beautiful energy going through it. Nothing's being rushed at all. Everything is as it's intended to be, divinely guided for each and every single customer. So you can use a little bit of a kind of an oil-based kind of paint in a bottle form or a pen form. A lot of times a pen form works just fine. Here I'll be using a little bit of a brush on just a piece of scrap plastic that I found, just to kind of show you how very little paint is needed for each and every one of these. It's such a small amount. So every one of these, it looks like I use pretty much gold paint on all of it, but I'm very careful with all of this painting process. It gets messy if we make mistakes. So this is where definitely it pays off to be patient, really just kind of relaxed and in the zone. If you're not in a good headspace to be in this part of the process, then it's probably better to approach it when you are more able to be more relaxed and comfortable. Your hands a little less shaky, as a result. Regardless, this is a custom area that could be adjusted through something as much as a correspondence through me. If you want, say, a silver marking, or you do want that black marking or any other color to be filled into your runes, that is certainly workable. Alright, I just end up doing gold on most of these because I really love the energetic properties of the gold color, how it relates to like the sacral chakra, the 528 hertz solfeggio frequency, the energies of conductivity, of energy, of just really the harmony and tying in together all these beautiful energies on all the runes. So if you would like a different color on your runes, or if you would like a different stone for your rune sets, or a different specific type of palm stone or necklace or keychain, just let me know in the email or when you're at the checkout, and we'll definitely be able to customize your order just for you. So you'll see here I just finished with that paint, and coming up after this we have to let the paint dry now, and we're going to be putting on a coat of acrylic to help protect the paint. I don't always put acrylic on the stones, but for this one I thought I would just show you that step in the process as well. And here I just put just the tiniest amount into a little cup, and I always rinse out the cup when I'm done. Help, it's another vessel to also clean the brush. But it looks nice and milky and opaque when I put it on. But when it dries, it'll dry very nice and clear, and it'll form a nice acrylic bonded layer to help protect the paint underneath. And then, of course, we let it dry some more. All in all, for carving the rune itself, it's not terribly bad or long. It's for the harder runes, like on a Mohs hardness scale of 7 or above, I would put each rune at about 25 minutes just because of the hardness. So those are a little bit more labor intensive. And then for the drying and painting process, is another 24 hours tacked on to that for the painting and drying processes. You can go a little bit longer just to be on the safe side. If I were going to do a nice custom work set for you, I would want to spend a good 2 days for the drying and painting processes, just to make sure that you are getting your top quality product that you're looking for. You see here now that I have that dry felt disc, going back and trimming up any just places that paint might have gotten over the edge or acrylic might have gotten over the edge of the pattern for the rune, and just really just tidying up and making the sharp lines just nice and more definitive and sharper here. And there we have it. You can get this rune specifically and others just like it and their whole sets at youressentialpractice.com. Namaste. Have a blessed and abundant day.